All right, welcome to a special quick hit, little mini episode of Speak of the Devils. We're going to tackle a key topic surrounding this weekend's game as ASU's heading to the Eastern Time Zone to face Cincinnati, and really no one better to bring on the show to break down what's happening with the Devils at quarterback than the one, the only, Ralph Amsden. Ralph, thank you so much. How are you today?
I'm happy to be. I'm 5-1. If any Arizona State fan is walking around upset right now, reevaluate your life.
Are you prepared to talk to your children about a bowl-eligible Arizona State?
Yeah, I'm prepared to talk to my kids about New Year's Eve in El Paso. It's beautiful.
I remember the last time, it was 2019 when they went to the Sun Bowl. I was leaving the press box and walking out, and I don't know if they were like renovations were about to go underway at the stadium, but there was like a line of like 8 toilets just sitting out in the concourse, just right there.
My favorite thing about every time we go to the Sun Bowl is you'll sit in the press box and your phone just gives you a little alert, and you look down and your phone says, "Welcome to Mexico."
So, we'll see. Let's talk about a guy who's going to probably play a role as to whether ASU is, of course, going to make another Sun Bowl run, because I believe, ASU for the least, and the rest of the Pac-12 legacy schools are tied to those bowls for at least another year. Of course, Sam Leavitt out with a fractured rib per Marcus Arroyo and Kenny Dillingham, putting the spotlight on Jeff Sims. First and foremost, though, let's talk about the guy who's going to be missing this game. How big a loss, in your estimation, is not having Sam Leavitt out there for the Devils?
For consistency's sake, as the emotional leader of this team, and for his overall growth as a quarterback, all of those things are very important. But as far as skill level on the field, I don't think that there's going to be a massive drop off, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not like Sam Leavitt has gone out and thrown for 300 yards yet, or has gone out and completed more than 9 passes to wide receivers. He's still a work in progress. He just has the ability to move the chains with his legs, and he's got an attitude that has made it very, very easy for this team to follow along behind him. And that might be where the biggest deficit is if Jeff Sims goes out there not carrying that same level of confidence.
Yeah, of course, Sam Leavitt taking the big hit near the end of the first half and coming back, take that final kneel down, of course, being a part of the comeback, the rally to take down Utah. But of course, Jeff Sims has a very experienced, if nothing else, at this level. Even right now, 100% of the time he carries the ball for the Devils. He finds the end zone. And we should mention that Sam Leavitt, looks like a 2 to 4 week injury per Kenny Dillingham. With the bye week, that could mean that this weekend could be the only game that he could miss. But there is the potential that Jeff Sims will be at the helm for a few games at least. What is your first impression? Even kind of before we talk about what to expect from Sims so far, what was your kind of thoughts on adding Jeff Sims to the mix as a post-spring addition?
I think it revealed the priority of this Arizona State staff, which is mobility. When you are trying to claw your way back up from the depths of the college football dungeon, you need to extend drives through any means possible. And if your offensive line isn't going to give a pocket passer 3.5 to 4.5 seconds to get the ball out of his hands, then you do need somebody that you can move the pocket with, somebody that can take off when necessary, that can take care of themselves. And that gives you a low ceiling and a high floor. And so what it looked like to me is that Arizona State was aiming to have a high floor by bringing in somebody as athletic as Jeff Sims and prioritizing making the 1-2 punch this year, Sam Leavitt and Jeff Sims.
So, of course, Leavitt, has a pretty strong spring, ends on a good note, and then they add Sims to the mix. And really, it was a Leavitt from the get-go. Sims did take the first team reps throughout fall camp one day, and you can tell he has NFL tight end size in a way. Tremendous athleticism, but of course the knock on him has always been the proclivity for turnovers, the inconsistency. He probably has the best arm on the team, throws a great ball, tremendous running speed, agility, but just is, obviously there's a lot more to it just than kind of the raw physical tools. I think in practice this week, he's looked pretty okay. Nothing terrific, nothing, terrible. Not necessarily the peaks and valleys. And I think maybe in a situation like this, just having a situation where you don't necessarily have the huge highs, but you avoid the major lows or those key turnovers. What are you looking for from Jeff Sims? What would he need to put out there to make this team successful on Saturday?
Well, I don't think that you should go into any game depending on him to be a traditional quarterback and to pass you to victory. This is somebody in his career who has 8 games completing less than 50% of his passes. This is somebody in his career who has 8 games of multiple interceptions, including 8 picks in his first 3 ever starts. And he's only got 3 300-yard passing games, and he's been in college, going on his 5th year of getting playing time. The important thing is to get him out on the run, to keep the defense honest, to keep them from crashing down on everybody. And he is also somebody who I believe on 10 separate occasions has at least 60 yards rushing. That's the type of performance that you're going to need from him. If you can get 125 to 175 yards passing out of him, especially putting your receivers in positions to catch the ball and make a play themselves, great. And if you can get him out on the run to keep the defense honest, that is very important as well. What you want to avoid with Jeff Sims is close quarter situations where the defense can disguise coverage, drop back in zone. That's where I feel like there's going to be a lot of struggle. He's somebody who I feel very strongly can get you inside the 25-yard line. What you do from there is going to be very calculated. It's going to be very important. And, Arizona State, the strength of this offense is the running game. That's great. The thing that has left a lot to be desired thus far is the kicking game. So when he gets you into bonus territory and you don't have the ability to convert with a field goal, that in and of itself could be very, very frustrating. So putting your receivers in position to maybe break a couple of tackles, make plays, and getting him out on the run are going to be very important.
ASU obviously is going to be committed to the ground game. Cam Scattaboo and company are going to be getting a heavy workload, and I think a game plan that involves a lot of the creative QB runs. Leaning on that ground game. We talked to our Cincinnati insider earlier this week. He says, give Scattaboo about 30 touches. That's the key to victory against this Bearcat defense. And plus, as we know, Ralph, last year, this is a staff that can be pretty creative when necessary. Would you have like the Apollo 13 kind of parallel there of just whatever they got on hand, they're going to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, and there are games you can point to in Jeff Sims' career where you say like that is what they need out of him. The second game of 2021 against North Carolina, 10 of 13 for 112 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. Fantastic. And what did he do with his legs? 128 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. He is capable of things like that. He has proven it time and time again. Even last year, when he was with Nebraska, he showed the ability to run with the football against Minnesota and Colorado on the road. The problem is, I think he turned the ball over maybe 5 times in the first 2 weeks, which is what caused them to turn away from him completely. Every time he got an opportunity at Nebraska, he was turning the ball over. So what you want to do is put him in situations to avoid that. He had a great game in 2022 toward the end of the season against Duke. He went 23 of 34 for 227, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. And in that game, he had 95 yards rushing and he caught a pass, which maybe we'll see something like that this week as well. So it is in him to do well. It is also in him to do some absolutely dastardly things. And so it's just all about noticing that if he's trending, toward not having confidence, toward turning the ball over, finding a way to, as quickly as possible, put him in a situation where you're not gonna see him continue to spiral.
Certainly a guy with immense physical tools and the ability to do a lot of great things on the football field. And obviously this is going to be a team that's going to be leaning on heavily on the run game. Maybe if it's a situation where you get him involved with a QB run game, 15 or so pass attempts, maybe perhaps that's the model for victory for the Sun Devils on the road. But before we get you out of here, Ralph, I know that you put out a tweet there, and also you're a longtime fan of, if Sims is maybe not getting the job done or unfortunately gets hurt a little bit, that you have pretty good confidence in ASU's number 3.
I do. And if you go back 49 games, starting right after Arizona State knocked off Oregon and Justin Herbert, feels like forever ago. But if you go back 49 games, Trenton Bourguet has the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and number 8 total passing yardage games for Arizona State over the last 49 games. Worst case for Arizona State, they get the best passer on the roster in a position to work them down the field, which again can open up more opportunities in the run game, which you were overly reliant on anyway. Currently, Arizona State running the ball 63% of the time.
Whew. Yeah, should be an interesting game Saturday afternoon, or if you're still here in the Valley, Saturday morning in that Nippert Stadium at Cincinnati. Ralph, anybody who's not following all the great stuff that you're doing on the podcast front, on the Twitter Spaces front, how can they keep up with you?
If you're on Twitter, you'll see me. Elon Musk made sure of it. You can't even block people anymore. So I'm out there. I've got the Fortcast, which is part of the 1012 Podcast Network. Finishing up recording this week's right now, and every Wednesday and sometimes after victories, we host Spaces. It was really cool this last week after the Utah win to have Demario Richard come on and say, "Hey, Cam Scatterbo, he's more than welcome to wear that number 4." But nobody might be able to wear that number 4 after him. And then Ben Coleman jumped on as well, and that was a whole lot of fun. And then last night we had Shimon Mateer listening in, and it's just always fun to see who's going to pop in and contribute. And it's just really all about the Sun Devil community on Spaces every single week.
A lot of great stuff there, and we'll all be tuned in on Saturday. I'll be heading out to Cincinnati to cover the game to see if ASU can get that win number 6, and therefore forcing Joe Healy to watch The Devil Wears Prada.
Yes, I cannot wait. Absolutely cannot wait. For anybody who wonders why we're talking about that, don't. Just understand that Joe Healy is about 8 years past watching a movie that I asked him to watch because I had devil in the name. And he refuses to do it, but he said he'd do it if they were bowl eligible. And I'm very excited for the Devil Wears Prada watch party.